Long ago, in a quiet Igbo village nestled between lush green hills and wide-flowing rivers, there existed a legend that had been passed down through generations. The story was about the Ndu Ube, the egg of life, a sacred object said to hold the secrets of the universe and the power to sustain the village through any hardship. This mystical egg was said to be blessed by the gods and hidden deep within the village, protected by spirits that only the pure of heart could commune with. The village, called Umu Akwi, was small but rich in culture, traditions, and wisdom. Its people were known for their craftsmanship, agriculture, and deep connection to the earth. They believed that the Ndu Ube had been placed in their village as a gift from Chukwu, the supreme deity, to ensure their prosperity, fertility, and protection from harm. According to the elders, once every 100 years, a chosen individual from the village would be guided by visions to locate the egg of life. This person was known as the Unindu, the life-bearer, and their duty was to renew the bond between the village and the divine. When the Unindu found the egg, they were to hold a special ceremony, praying for the well-being of the land, ensuring good harvests, and maintaining the village's peace and unity. It wasn't until one fateful season of drought and famine that the villagers of Umuk began to wonder if they had lost the protection of the egg. The rains had stopped for months, and the once fertile land had become cracked and barren. Hunger spread and the streams dried up. The villagers were desperate. Many began to believe they had angered the gods, while others argued that the Ndu Ube was nothing more than a myth. But among them lived a young girl named Amaka, the daughter of a humble farmer. Unlike many of her peers, Amaka had always been fascinated by the old stories her grandmother told her by the fireside. She listened intently whenever the elders spoke of the egg of life, and in her heart, she believed that the egg still existed. One night, as Amaka lay in bed, she had a vivid dream. In the dream, she stood at the foot of a towering Irako tree at the edge of the village, and from its base emerged a glowing path that led her deep into the forest. At the end of the path, she saw a small cave, hidden behind thick vines. Inside, perched on an ancient altar of stone, was the Ndu Ube, glowing softly with a golden light. When she awoke, Amaka felt a powerful urge to follow the dream. She knew that it was not just a figment of her imagination but a message from the gods. She told her family and the village elders about the dream, and though many were skeptical, her sincerity convinced them to let her search. With the village's hope resting on her shoulders, Amaka set off into the forest the next morning, retracing the steps from her dream. She reached the towering Irako tree, just as she had seen in her vision, and followed the glowing path only she could sense. After hours of walking, she found the cave, hidden just as her dream had foretold. Inside the cave, she found the altar, and there, resting on top, was the egg of life, shimmering with an ethereal light. Amaka knelt before the egg, her heart pounding in awe. She gently lifted it, feeling the warmth and energy flow through her. She whispered a prayer to the gods, asking for rain, prosperity, and the return of balance to her village. As she carried the egg back to Muokwe, the sky began to darken. Thunder rumbled in the distance, and soon, heavy rain began to fall. The villagers, who had gathered to wait for Amaka, gasped in wonder as she emerged from the forest, the egg of life cradled in her hands. The rain soaked the dry earth, filling the rivers once more, and the crops began to revive. From that day forward, Amaka was revered as the Unindu, the life-bearer of her generation. She led the village in a ceremony of thanksgiving, and the bond between the people and the divine was restored. The village of Umuk had experienced a brief period of peace and prosperity after Amaka's miraculous discovery of the Ndu Ube, the egg of life. The rains had returned, the crops flourished, and the people rejoiced, grateful for the sacred bond between their village and the gods. Amaka, now revered as the Unindu, the life-bearer, had brought back the blessings of the land. The Ndu Ube was kept in a sacred shrine at the center of the village, watched over by the village's elders. However, peace rarely lasts forever. In a distant part of the land, there lived a dark and powerful sorcerer named Nkemdalim. His reputation had spread far and wide, not only for his mastery of dark magic but for his insatiable hunger for power. Unlike the people of Umyuk, Nkemdalim did not worship the gods. Instead, he sought to dominate them. He had long heard whispers of the Ndu Ube, the egg of life, and its power. Legends told that whoever possessed it could control the very forces of nature, weather, fertility, and life itself. For Nkemdalim, this was the ultimate prize, one that would allow him to bend the world to his will. One fateful night, Chief MBA, who has always had eyes for the throne, has traveled to a far forest to meet Nkemdalim. He promised Nkemdali that once they got the egg of life, they could rule over the world together. Nkemdali agreed to use his powers and get the egg of life with the help of Chief MBA, who is the chief head of the village shrine guiding the egg of life. He couldn't get it alone because only those with great powers can remove the egg of life from the shrine. And that was why he had to plan with Nkemdali. While the village slept peacefully, Chief MBA led Nkemdili to the shrine. Nkemdalim struck. Cloaked in darkness and wielding ancient, forbidden spells, he infiltrated the sacred shrine where the egg of life was kept. The village's guards, despite their bravery, were no match for the sorcerer's power. With a flick of his hand, he immobilized them, silencing the village and surrounding the shrine with dark mist. He seized the Ndu Ube with a sinister smile, its golden light dimming in his hands as he enveloped it in his dark magic, and later kills Chief MBA because he doesn't want to share the power in the egg with anyone. When the villagers awoke the next morning, the sacred egg was gone, and a wave of despair swept through Umyuk. The crops began to wither, the skies grew dark, and the rivers that had once flowed freely began to dry up once more. The village elders, realizing what had happened, knew that the loss of the Ndu Ube could mean the end of their people. Without the egg of life, the bond with the gods was broken, and disaster would soon follow. Nkemdili emerged into the palace with his armies. With the power in the egg, he made the king and queen mad, and sent Prince Obena to the evil forest for wild animals to feed on. The people became slaves. Sometimes he sells them in exchange for money to other foreigners. Every day he would bring out all the women in the village and have them flogged 100 strokes of cane every day. Anyone who refused to come out to get flogged will be killed immediately. By flogging these women, he gets more powers and grows in strength. One day, Nkemdili the sorcerer left the village to his cave where he kept the egg of life, to perform some rituals and finally take total control of the egg. Amaka, still young but wise beyond her years, was devastated. She had been entrusted with the Ndu Ube, and now it had been stolen right from under their watch. But she did not lose hope. She knew deep down that the gods had chosen her for a reason, and that she alone had the ability to find the sorcerer and reclaim the egg for her people. With the elder's blessing, Amaka embarked on a dangerous journey. She was given a charm made by the village's oldest Dibia, a spiritual guide, to protect her from Nkemdalim's dark magic. Armed with nothing but her courage, her faith in the gods, and the wisdom she had gathered from the old stories, Amaka ventured beyond the familiar hills and rivers of Umyuk, into the unknown lands where the sorcerer resided. Nkemdalim's lair was hidden deep in the heart of a cursed forest, a place where the trees twisted unnaturally, and the air was thick with shadows and despair. As Amaka journeyed deeper, the darkness seemed to close in around her, whispering doubts into her ears, but she pressed on. She had faced challenges before, but none as daunting as this. Along the way, she encountered mystical creatures and spirits that tested her resolve. Some tried to deceive her with illusions, while others, sensing her purity of heart, offered guidance. One such spirit, a wise and ancient tortoise, appeared to her in the thick of the forest. It warned her of Nkemdalim's power and how he had placed a curse on the Ndu Ube, twisting its life-giving magic into something dark and dangerous. The sorcerer's power is great, but his greed is greater, the tortoise told her. He underestimates the strength of the one chosen by the gods. You must confront him, not with anger, but with the purity and light that comes from within you. Only then can you break the curse and reclaim the egg of life. With renewed determination, Amaka continued her journey. On her way, she met the crown prince whom Kemdili has sent to exile. A wild animal was about to eat him up, so she used her arrows to kill it and rushed to save the prince. He looked so tattered and tired. Amaka couldn't leave him by himself, so she carried him on her back, else the animals would feed on him soon. Amaka and the prince continued their journey together until she reached Nkemdalim's lair, a dark tower surrounded by an eerie mist. As she approached, she felt the weight of the sorcerer's magic pressing against her, trying to drive her away. But the charm given to her by the Dibia glowed brightly, protecting her from the worst of it. She climbed the twisted stairs of the tower, her heart pounding as she neared the chamber where Nkemdalim kept the Ndu Ube. When she entered the chamber, she found the sorcerer sitting on a throne of black stone, the egg of life resting on a pedestal beside him, now radiating a dark, twisted energy. Nkemdalim looked at her with disdain, amused that such a young girl would dare challenge him. So, the life-bearer has come to reclaim her precious egg, he sneered. But you are too late, child. Its power is mine now, and soon, I will control the very fabric of this world. Amaka stood firm. The Ndu Ube was not meant for one who seeks only power. You've corrupted its magic, but the gods will never allow it to remain in your hands. With a dark chuckle, Nkemdalim raised his hand, summoning a wave of dark energy to strike her down. But as the energy rushed toward her, Amaka held up the charm the Dibia had given her. It glowed brightly, and the sorcerer's magic shattered upon contact, unable to touch her. Realizing that brute force would not win the battle, Amaka took a deep breath and focused her thoughts. She began to speak softly, invoking the names of the gods and the ancestors, calling on their help to restore balance. Her words filled the room with light, pushing back the darkness. The Ndu Ube, sensing the purity of Amaka's heart, began to glow brighter, its golden light slowly returning. Nkemdalim's face twisted in anger. He tried to cast another spell, but it was too late. The egg of life responded to Amaka's call, breaking free from the sorcerer's control. With one final surge of energy, the egg's light burst forth, engulfing the entire tower. Nkemdalim screamed as the light overpowered him, and with a flash, he vanished, banished by the very power he had sought to control. Amaka, now holding the egg of life, felt its warmth and energy flow through her once again. She had won. She had reclaimed the egg, not through violence, but through the strength of her spirit and her connection to the divine. Returning to Umyuk, Amaka was greeted as a hero. The village rejoiced as the egg was returned to its rightful place, and the blessings of the gods were restored. The king and the queen were healed from their madness, and the rains returned. The crops flourished, and the village once again prospered. Amaka's journey became a legend, and she was remembered as not only the Unindu but as the girl who had faced darkness and restored the light.